Hello everyone and welcome back to my podcast, Straight White Whale. The last podcast of the year because it's so close to Christmas and Paul needs a holiday because he's been grafting like fuck. So we're going to have a good one today and then we'll be back in January. Paul, how are you, mate? Are you looking forward to your break?
I sure am, mate. I'm sure am. One more podcast after this, 2 therapy clients in the morning, and then I'm done for 14, 15, 16 days. So I'm looking forward to it.
Can't beat it, mate. It's well earned. I mean, who's going to be doing podcasts on Christmas Eve and all that? That's just taking the piss.
You would be surprised.
Honestly.
Not on Christmas Eve, but round about that time, like, people come back into the city. People that aren't normally here are here for a couple of weeks. Well, you know, COVID willing.
Yeah.
But, nah, mate, it's not happening.
There's a forum on Facebook called the Scottish Comedy Forum, and there's like 30,000 members. Most of them are all scud books, right? And a couple of years ago, I remember a guy posted on Christmas Day, would anybody ever do a Christmas Day gig? And literally everybody was like, mate, what the fuck? It's Christmas Day, mate.
Aye, mate, you need to be one some sad piece of shit to want to go to work on Christmas. I'm kidding on, mate, that's so shite.
No, it is, man. You're a sad piece of sack of shit. Unless you're like working for an ambulance or a doctor or a police or something, you shouldn't be working on Christmas Day.
Aye, mate, it's a hard time.
Apart from me when I'm grafting birds, I never take a day off. Sorry, I get my COVID jag the day I'm fucked.
Right, you fucking turn into a lizard.
Aye, I got my booster. I feel a wee bit rough, mate.
Aye, mate, you will.
Yeah.
It's like a flu vaccine, isn't it, man? You're going to feel rough for a couple of days. My mate, it's so funny, like, you hear how the fucking Facebook post really infiltrate people's head when my mate was texting me going, I've got that Moderna arm. I'm like, what's that? Where they gave me the jag, it's sore. And I'm like, aye, mate, because you get stabbed. Like, you ever, see when you're a wee guy, do you ever get stabbed in the arse with a compass and like fucking techie or something like that? Mate, that shit hurt for days, man.
Aye.
So, of course, no, it's the vaccine. Like, okay, no bother.
It's supposed to be sore.
See if it's no sore, you're not working hard enough, mate. That means that the vaccine's working. It hurts in the way in and the way out.
I actually needed 5 vaccines a day because the nurse said I was that solid. She was like, nah, you need more.
Did you tuck that shit under your belt?
It's the same, you know, I know it's probably got nothing to do with the similar to it, but when people get a hair transplant, they don't realise that it takes 4 weeks to heal, right?
Right.
And it takes up to 22 months for it to look normal. But we live in a society that you're like, what do you mean you need to take a week? Like, I had to take 7 days off after it.
Right.
People can't, nobody's got patience for that.
Right, it's no type of thing you can go and get done your lunch hour or what and
Aye,
go
but
home
I
after
think
it.
we live in a society when, like, nobody wants to get the vaccine because you're going to be fucked for 2 days. And they don't realise that
Either go kill their granny on Christmas Day or whatever.
sometimes you're going to be fucked.
Aye, for sure.
I mean, that's got nothing to do with the hair transplant, isn't it? I'm just tripping at my nut.
No, but I think, well, you know what, mate? Hair transplants are becoming pretty common if they became affordable or something. Like, or they're firing credit at cunts. Like, here, come get a hair transplant, pay it up per 4 months or something like that. Right, okay.
It's very cheap.
Seen a few people get it done. Do you know what? It was really weird. Was this experience, like, see for like the last sort of, maybe until about a year ago, right? I always felt like I was going bald. And I would be pure, I should just shave my head, man. And then I seen some cunt get a hair transplant and they were like, the big reveal. And I was like, that looks like my hair. So that guy's paid thousands to go and get what is essentially my hairdo and now he's showing it off. It's like, maybe I'm not going bald.
Yeah.
It's weird what your fucking eyes do to you sometimes, man. I think one of my mates said it to me. He was like pure, oh, you're thinning. And see for there. And I was like quite obsessed. But what I have noticed, see since I've like recovered from mental health issues and shit, my hair's way thicker.
Yeah.
It must have been stress related.
Aye.
I've been like thinning or
Would
whatever.
have been. See, when you realise that nobody gives a fuck as well. Like,
Aye,
see, the first day that I was allowed to walk out the house with my head, like I was walking down the main
Do you
road.
need to stay in?
Basically, aye, because
Right.
your head gets infected, you need to
Right.
rest, you can't wash it. So even if you did go
Right.
out, you're going to be walking out with kind of dried in blood all over your head because you're not allowed to touch it.
Right.
You
So,
can't touch it
okay.
or scratch it for 7 days.
right.
See, when you wash your head after 7 days, it was like an orgasm in the
Aye,
shower,
mate.
man.
Oh my god.
But see, when I did get a wash and went out for a walk, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously my head was still massive and bruised and it looked fucked, and you're walking past people and they cunts even looking at you, and I'm like, I'm feeling self-conscious for losing a wee bit of hair. Nobody cares.
Nobody gives a fuck, do they, man? See, anybody that does give a fuck, like, you really shouldn't care what the types of people think. See people that are like, see people and be like, oh, look him, he should shave his head. That's a pure state. It's like, fuck off, mate. You know what I mean? Let people live their fucking life, man.
Exactly.
Why are you walking about pure obsessing about it the way other people fucking look? You mad fucking pedo.
Aye,
Mad sadist bastard. I genuinely think it's always a reflection of how they feel about themselves, mate. Like, my mate that did that to me, pure, oh, you're thinning. He went bald when he was like 21. So he's just pure hyper-focused on cunt's hair because he's like, oh, but it was a genuine eye-opener when people are paying thousands to get my hairdo. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm pure telling myself that I should be shaving my head. But I get rid of that shit. But like I said, it was about a year, maybe. Mate, see, I don't know about you, but see my concept of what year it is, man, it's fucked. See that 2020 COVID year? That doesn't... I'm like, that was about a year ago. I really sort of... It was like 2-3 years ago. Like, what's happened to fucking time, man? It's just
crazy, isn't it?
mental, mate.
Probably looks like we're going towards another lockdown as well, mate. A lot of pantos getting cancelled and gigs are getting cancelled.
I don't know if we're going to go into a full lockdown, but it looks like they're definitely going to start limiting capacities at least. I think I'd seen a leaked memo for the Welsh government where it was like going back to the rule of 6. You can only meet. So basically they're winding it back step by step. So like the last, I think, stage of restrictions was you can meet indoors no more than 6 people for 2 or 3 households. We're going back to that. Like, whether or not we go back to a full lockdown, I don't know. But, you know, que sera, mate. Like, we can't do anything about it, you know? Like, if these cases are fucking skyrocketing, what we going to do?
It is what it is, isn't it?
Did you have any anxiety when you were getting your vaccines? Because I'm not going to lie, mate. See, when I went to the Louisa Jordan for that second, I had a wee moment where I was like, fuck, man, what if this is all pure mind control?
So
You
did
didn't
I.
have a word with yourself, man.
So did I. See, since day one, I've been pro NHS, pro mask, pro vaccine, right? And then right up until a week before I get my first vaccine, I'm surrounded with doughballs, right? that are friends and all. And a lot of them are like David Icke, all that type of stuff. And a few of them fucking nearly got me, man, to the point that I was like, this vaccine has been rushed out and all that type of stuff. It hasn't really, though. They've been working on it for 10 years. It's got something to do with SARS, isn't it?
Aye, well, Ebola and swine flu and all that are all part of the SARS strain, which is COVID is part of that. So, you're right.
So they've been working on it for 10 years and obviously they flung all the money at it and they've rushed it through. But I don't know what it is. But I did think, do you know what, I'm not going to take it. And then I spoke to my cousin and my cousin said, are you fucking serious? Like, since day one, you've like slaughtered people that have been anti-vax, all that type of stuff. And then I was working with my mate one day, and we were in the West End, and I swear on my mother's life, see the guy's house that we're working on. The guy was a doctor. He was retired for a couple of years, and he worked with viruses like AIDS. He's done everything, cancer, top guy, right?
Right.
And he came out of retirement to work with this.
When they gave the licenses back to people.
Aye, because they were short as well, short-staffed, and he was an expert. And I said, look, mate, can I please talk to you for 2 minutes? I'm scared. I'm surrounded with cold water therapists that are telling me not to take the vaccine, to take vitamin C. And he sat me down and he was basically said, look, the only way we're going to get through this is taking a vaccine, and then see when it kind of levels out and things kind of get back to normal, it will just be like the flu jab once a year. And I done. So the guy sold me on it, and then I went and done it. But the first one I got, my arm was a wee bit sore. The second one, I was fucked for 3 days.
Aye, that's it, mate. I mean, I had a conversation with a guy last weekend where I had 2 conversations in the 1 week, and it just shows you how deep this runs, like, for people that you know and people that you're like, okay, it's not just idiots. They're no, you know what I mean? Like, as much as it's funny to go, I'm surrounded by dough balls. Like, I've had 2 conversations last week. One with a good mate who was telling me that he's not getting the booster. So we're watching the football, double vax, and he said, I'm not getting the booster. And I was like, how come? And he was like, oh, read this article about the link between strokes and the Pfizer vaccine. So I was like, well, first of all, get the article out. I'm not sitting here listening to you talk fucking pish. Like, get it out. I want to read it. So struggles to find it, and I'm like, where did you see it? Guess where? Facebook. And I was like, what was the website? Don't know. And I was like, right, get into your internet history, put in COVID vaccine. We find the article, right? It's on some fucking mad WordPress fucking, not even get a proper URL. It's like pure numbers and all sorts of pish to it. And I'm like, right, cool. Who's the author? Can't find the name of the author. It's not even the Pfizer. So this just demonstrates it to me in a weird way. Like, they were talking about AstraZeneca, and I was like, well, listen, mate, look, see, if you're going to spout your pish, at least know what pish you're going to spout to people. Don't start flinging vague ideas at people. It shows me that you've not really thought about this. You've read something vaguely and decided that's it.
Yeah.
You've not done even the most basic due diligence on the information that you're consuming, and you're consuming junk, right? So then we're like, let's look at the data, right? The data was real, right? Mm-hmm. But it was 4,000 people spread over 6 months in an area, right? And when we Googled the area in that 6 months, 180 million vaccinations had been administered. So you're talking about a fraction of a percent. And also, when you look at the line of people that had took strokes, it hasn't went up year on year. So it's kind of circumstantial.
So would it be like us taking paracetamol and you having a stroke through taking paracetamol, but then you say, but there's 7 billion people in the world, 5 billion people take paracetamol.
Right, exactly. And adding to that say paracetamol came out at the start of this year, 19,000 people have died within 7 days of taking paracetamol through strokes. Mm-hmm. But last year, 21,000 people died in that same time period. So it's false equivalence. Like, of course, people are going to die in the days and the weeks and the months after getting a vaccination.
Yeah.
Because people fucking die.
Yeah.
And people take strokes. So I was like to him, mate, like, you've convinced me. I was like to him, thank you very much. You've convinced me to go and get my booster, because you've just reinforced to me how easily people are convinced by really poor data, poor arguments. But if you, in that sense, it was real what he was talking about. He just does not know how to interpret data.
Yeah.
And neither do I, mate. I just done a basic sort of 5-minute dig on this article and found it to be unreviewed, no author, on a pish website, and also like the data that they'd pulled was real, but the conclusion that they had came to was absolute fucking nonsense horseshit.
Yeah.
So that was one conversation, and my mate Dave was like, pure shit, need to bleep his name it. He was like, you know, still on the fence, mate. I was just kind of like pointed out the nonsense in what he was telling me, and he wasn't budging.
That's
he didn't
crazy.
seem to budge in any way, which is fine. But then the other conversation, and I'll edit this down so it's like really quick, mate, was with a guy on Saturday night, and he was saying to me, anybody that goes and gets this is a shite bag. And I was like, the opposite of that is true, mate. Why are you not getting it?
Yeah.
Because he was like, because like people are dying. I was like, so you're afraid of taking the vaccine? Why am I a shite bag? Because you're just falling, you're a sheep. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm no, mate. I have the same reservations and skepticism that you do.
Yeah.
And I had anxiety going and getting it. Like, make it make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I will get on your side.
Yeah.
But see, until you're rambling a whole load of fucking pish that you've found on the internet, on YouTube, on Facebook, that has got no way of, like, you know, being reviewed by experts. Like Joe Rogan yesterday had a doctor on from Texas, right, talking about COVID and talking about he was the hydrocodone guy, the bleach pish that get fed to Trump.
Yeah.
He's on Rogan unchallenged,
Yeah.
talking about stuff that if you Google it is real, but the conclusions that the guy comes to is like this mad leap over a fucking chasm of like
Yeah.
mental gymnastics.
Was that the older guy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And like what Rogan did, I don't know if you remember, with the vegan thing, where there was a Netflix documentary about how you can be a healthy vegan. Then he put on this guy who was a counterpoint. Then he got so many complaints that he brung in the guy that did the research for the Netflix documentary, and they shared their data with each other. And then 2 weeks later, they came in and they had a debate. The guy for Netflix bitch slapped this guy about fucking Rogan's podcast,
Yep.
right? He needs to do the same thing with this guy.
Yeah.
They need to get somebody, because, you know, this guy gets 1 billion downloads a month, mate. It's not, there's 7.2 billion people on the planet. There's a big, huge proportion of the planet that listens to this guy's podcast. He needs to get this guy on, and they need to share data backwards and forwards with a government expert or an expert for the the World Health, WHO.
Yeah.
And they need to have it out on that podcast, because you can't platform people like that
No.
that are coming away with pish about life and,
Yeah.
you know, let's just half the population of the planet. Let's just let 50% of the population,
Yeah.
you know, mostly disabled and old people just die because we don't, you know, I want to be able to go to Burger King. Fuck you, man.
Exactly, mate.
I'm
It's
probably
very-
edit all that out, mate.
No, fuck it. Keep it in. Keep it in.
Too
It's-
much of me fucking talking, but mate, I'm
No.
just so sick of it, mate. And like my girlfriend last Christmas missed her granny's fucking final Christmas on this fucking planet because of pish that's going on. Do you know what I mean? Idiots that just don't want to fucking listen. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And think that this is all just some sort of big fucking joke and that they know more than anybody else. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm an intuitive. Like, do you know what you are, mate? A fuck nugget.
Yeah.
Like, go away.
No, you're no. You listen to Joe Rogan, you smoke weed, and your brains became warped. There's nothing wrong with listening to Joe Rogan. It's improved my life. I wouldn't have been a vegan if it wasn't for Joe Rogan. That's where I heard Rich Roll.
Right.
I was like, who's this dude? Went and listened to him. I was like, wow.
Did you listen to the one where they got the guy off of?
Yep.
Right.
And it was the most satisfying thing I've ever listened to in my life, because he was just
Brilliant.
flat out saying, you're a liar. And you know, it is true. When I was a vegan, I was a hardcore vegan for 2 years, right? See, as soon as I started eating cheese again and drinking milk and eating chocolate, that's when I get fucked. It wasn't being a vegan that fucked me. It was introducing these foods again.
Aye, for sure, mate.
So-
But see, like you're saying, look, people are convinced. Like, you can get two people that read the same reports, same set of data, and people will naturally go to one side or the other based on their own biases.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And if somebody is, you know, a Trumper, or, you know, they've got political motive, you know, they live in Texas, which has had no lockdowns,
Yeah.
you know, blah, 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 then you need to take that into consideration when you're forming your opinion. There's a guy walked in here last night, went, I don't think you can catch COVID twice. And I was like, well, I know a couple of people that's happened, so, but why do you think that? Because I listened to this podcast with Joe Rogan today, and it's like, so you now believe something because you listened to it
Yeah.
on a podcast. Like, I listened to the same podcast, was like, that's really interesting, looked at some of the facts, went, fuck, what this guy's saying's true, then Googled the guy and went, but I'm going to be a bit sceptical just based on what I've read.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, I'm not going to buy into things just because somebody that sounds like they know what they're talking about on a podcast is flapping their fucking gums. Like, I could quite easily be like, you know, I'm a you know, mental health professional with over 1,000 hours of therapy under my belt, and I'm here to tell you that depression does not exist.
Yeah.
And somebody might listen to that and go, that guy really knows what he's talking about. My girlfriend's depression's a load of shite.
Yeah.
She's been self-indulgent, that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just, aye, it's crazy, mate. Well, just, my dad's old, like, people make pish for idiots. You just need to know that at all times in your head. People make pish for idiots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Aye, fuck it. Anyway, enjoy your fucking booster.
As I can't see out my left eye while talking to you. That's what I'm saying, but... So,
Sobriety, we were going to talk about.
sobriety, no, this is a
tell me.
strange one for me, because today, the 17th of December, is the actual my sober date. So today I'm 6 years sober.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you very much, mate.
And what do you mean by sober?
6 years ago, I had my last drop of alcohol and drug.
Right, so you're alcohol and drug free.
Yes.
Congratulations, mate. Takes a hell of a lot of willpower to go 6 years.
Thank you very much, mate. And as time goes on, see the achievement of being sober, it's not as euphoric, but I realise that I've got a platform. I realise that we're nearly 2 years into a lockdown or COVID or whatever you want to call it. I know that this time of year is dreadful for some people without all this carry on alone. Just this time of year is bad enough. And then you're adding COVID and all this shit. It's just awful. So I think I've got a platform, might be a small platform, but it might help someday. Just like it helped me, that showed me that kind of sober life. So I thought that I would talk about my sobriety, share about my experience, maybe my first drink in between and my last drink, and then the both of you can name some charities to help some people.
For sure,
and
mate.
It won't be the type of fucking go up to the campuses with your balls out and it will only be £65 and don't take antidepressants. And I'm not saying don't go to a doctor if you're fucked and you need help. Go to a doctor. Go to the experts.
Mate. Absolutely.
But hopefully I can help someone. And, you know, I know a few people that when they've got a sober date, they just say, oh, it's just another day, trying to be humble. And I think, do you know what? Life is fucking awful, right? Life is shit. It's amazing we've got friends and family and all that. But see, birthdays and these moments are small moments of joy. I think they should be celebrated.
Mate, 100% agree with you. See, if you've achieved something, pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
And whatever way that looks, that's all right. If you want to make a video and put it on Instagram and do it, man. Do it. People, if somebody looks at it and goes, oh, what a self-indulgent, blah, 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 fuck them.
Yeah.
Like, they're probably in the middle, whatever that you're talking about. So, mate, I genuinely have so much respect for people that overcome addiction. It's a curse for people. Like, I think that especially in the world that we live in, so many people are addicted to so many things. So hearing a story of sobriety can and will inspire people. So if it's not for you, that's great.
Yeah.
Turn off. You know?
We'll still try and make it funny because sadly everybody knows an alcoholic, especially in Scotland and Glasgow. We've just been ravaged with this.
It's part
disease.
of our culture, mate. I mean, it doesn't even shock me when I hear about people like, I'm going to ask you, but my first drink was at like 8.
Was it?
Aye, mate. I had like a shandy, you know, like a beer put in at Christmas Day and like a snowball on Christmas Eve, but I got a litre bottle of Pulse, which was a fucking, at the time, now how old I was a 75p bottle of cider, and I went to a school fun day. That was my first drinking experience, but then I didn't drink for years after that and had my first proper drink at like 16, which was like 3 litres of Strongbow that get consumed over the course of like, you know, between 5 o'clock at night and 11 o'clock at night, mate, and I was steaming, like blind drunk, like made an arse of it. So what age were you?
I think I was 14. See, because so much time has passed, memories became blurred, but 14 was my first one, and I think it was the same as you, mate. I think my brother, I don't even know why he done it, gave me a can of beer.
Yeah, grass. I'm kidding on.
I know. I was like, oh, that was kind of shite.
Aye, mate.
And then I had my first drink when I was 16, and it was in a golf course. And exact same as you, mate. I made an absolute cunt of it. I was greeting. There was a wee burn in the golf course. It was just like a wee swamp. And I remember the police drove into the golf course to lift everybody, and I ran away. And I ended up falling into the burn. So it was
doomed for the start.
So I remember, like, see, as the police were lifting everybody, I was in this wee swamp like that, literally like that, just peeking out for a swamp.
Like fucking, what's the mad fucking, the pure famous war movie where he's in the fucking...
Oh, Apocalypse Now.
Aye, mate, like Martin Sheen in Apocalypse Now. Pure, just the eyeballs hanging out, man.
I went back to my house that night, drenched in shite. My ma's like, have you been drinking? I'm like, no. But I probably started drinking when I was 18, and there's a couple of major things in my life. Like, I think people think you've got a stereotypical view of an alcoholic, a guy that will lie under a bridge and drink cheap cider.
Meth and milk.
Aye. I personally think you don't need to be drinking every day to be an alcoholic. It's how you feel.
Yeah, mate. I had a problem with alcohol. I wouldn't have classified myself as an alcoholic, but I had a problem with alcohol. My problem with alcohol was I could not have one or two drinks.
Yeah.
If I went out, and you can ask any of my mates, testify to this, mate, I would just be like fucking guzzling the bevy down, man. It was total escapism.
Yeah.
Friday night, Saturday night, and then during the week you would sort of like whatever. But I still see that as an addiction because I think that you can enjoy alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe know if you've experienced like what addiction is or whatever it is, but when you start to use it as an escape for like real life, whether that be one night or 7 nights a week, I think that you've got a problem with it.
Yeah.
You've got the potential to have a problem, and you should start managing yourself at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what you mean, like alcoholics don't, and addicts don't. Look, you know, I remember a guy that used to, I think I mentioned this to you before, used to work for the council as a bin man and would fucking go home and smoke heroin. And I remember being quite shocked by that, like, what? He's got a job and he's got a bird and they've got a Wayne and he's taking smack. That doesn't compute in my head, and it's because of that idea that you're talking about, that addicts look like this.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't, man. We're surrounded by them. Fuck's sake, I know cunts that are addicted to their phone. Addicted to fucking food, addicted to porn, addicted to fucking go to the gym, addicted to being fucking taking photos and putting it on the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Just everything, mate.
Because I think when I first started to realise that I maybe might have a problem, I was comparing myself to other alcoholics, maybe family members, and, you know, looking at being judgmental and looking at like homeless people or drug addicts and thinking, I've still got a job and I'm not homeless and I can't be an alcoholic. And then see when the penny drops, it's not exactly a devastating feeling. I think it was... I think I realised I was an alcoholic when I stopped drinking. Like, I've had long periods of sobriety in my life with no help or no support network, and see those months, they've been the worst months of my life because I've took away. It's like self-medicating. I've took away the self-medication, and I've done nothing about.
Try to replace it or fix the underlying issue.
So I don't know if you've ever had that in your life when people stop drinking for Lent or something like that, and then your family will be like, he's better off on the fucking drink. Never mind half it.
Well, that's it, mate. It's like people that have maybe an eating disorder or eat too much, and then they go to the opposite direction and start restricting everything that they eat and going to the gym religiously, and it's unacceptable if I don't get up and I don't work out and blah blah blah. And it's like, now you're on the other side of the spectrum. Life is about finding that balance, about like what do you want today, you know, like truly. But I think that I get quite a lot, as a therapist as well, mate, I get quite a lot of questions for people like, oh, how do you know that you're addicted? See if you have that thought in your head, am I addicted? See the thing that you're thinking about, get up for a month.
Aye.
No matter what it is that you're thinking about, if you're asking that question, is this a problem? Do an experiment to see if it is a problem.
Yeah.
And you'll fucking find out soon enough, because if on that first night you're like, oh, you're itching, you're jonesing for something, then you've got a problem, you know?
Exactly. But that's my experience in life as well, because I know it's supposed to be anonymous, but I went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and the only reason I stopped going was because of COVID, and I went there for years and it served a purpose and it helped me, but I'm not shackled by it. I used it as a tool to help me get through a bad period of my life. But if I need help, I would go to the doctor or a therapist or use anything I can to get through that. But I used to see people come there, including myself, by the way, and sit there and think, I'm an alcoholic. See if you walk through the doors of an AA meeting and you're sitting on a chair at a meeting, I think that answers your question before you even speak. Do you know what I mean? And there's no shame. I look at it this way, right? I'm allergic to alcohol. That's it. It's that simple. See, when I put alcohol or drugs into my body, it changes every aspect of my life. It changes me physically, it changes me mentally, and I think it changes me spiritually.
Yeah, mate, 100%. And I get quite, I'm drug positive. Like totally drug positive, not know about like, injecting black tar heroin. But, if you need a painkiller, man, morphine, like we exactly what you said, like even the drugs can be tools. And people be like, but you smoke weed and you take mushrooms and you're talking about addiction. I think that what's very important about how you use a drug, and I include alcohol in this, and caffeine, by the way, and tobacco, is what is the intention of you taking it? So if your intention of having a glass of wine or a beer is to, be with your pals, social lubrication, feeling part of, some people will be like, I feel kind of like an outcast if I sit and have a Diet Coke and everybody's having a drink, right? Well, you have one or two. That's totally different from what I was doing, and it sounds like what you were doing, which was like, as soon as I cracked a bottle of Jack Daniels open, my head was pure, let's get fucked up, man.
Let's get fucked.
I want to get fucked up. That was my intention. I used to say to people, I had this weird thing, I could always control it, but people would be like, do you want a pint? And I'd be like, we going out? Nah. And I'd be like, no, it's fucking pointless then.
Yeah.
Oh, what, really? I drink to get drunk, mate. I don't, that was basically what I was doing.
I'm the same, mate.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So your intent is really important. The intention, like I take mushrooms as like a sort of therapeutic thing for my mind. I've got mates that take it to get fucked up.
Yeah.
And they usually don't have that great a time when they take them. But when you take them with this intention of like sort of, I really want to be present with it and I really want to get something out of this, they can be a really great tool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So,
I understand. I don't judge people that smoke weed. The only reason I probably don't smoke weed is because I can't handle it. Like, I just can't handle it. I could go out, when I was younger, take 20 eckies, right? Honestly, and be all right, and 20 pints, and still be functioning at a party. See, if you gave me 2 draws of a joint, I would go fucking white, paranoid, hear voices, and I'm like, right, physically I just can't react to that. That's no for me.
Was ecstasy your drug of choice?
It used to be when I was younger. I really hope my family's not fucking listening to this.
So I think this is like an important thing about it, is that you just talked about your first drink, right? Do you remember your first half pill?
Yeah.
And how good was that fucking... I mean, that's basically what you're chasing for the rest of your pill journey.
Yep.
And I was the same as you, mate. I'd go to nightclubs and take 8 and just be like, so fucked up. But I never achieved that high that I got. I was in a house party in Burmullock and took half a love heart in like fucking 2003. Yeah. And mate, I can even still remember the hairs in the back of my neck standing up and just going, oh mate, oh my God, really? And then playing football in a back garden in the Pishing Range, just pure howling.
Aye. I do remember having this curiosity towards drugs. It was like a hunger that was never going away. And I started asking people in my school that took them, what's it like? And nobody would have stopped me for taking eckies before I took them. Because it was so... It just wasn't going to stop me. Like, and see, as soon as I took it, my first pill, I remember thinking my life is never going to be the same. See, before I took my first drink, we're surrounded with alcoholics and alcoholism, right? I hated alcohol when I was younger, before I even drank it. And see, the first time I drank, maybe the can of beer with my brother, but the first time I get drunk, I thought, fuck it, I'm going to have a problem.
So what was it about drinking that made you think, like, what was the change?
What do you mean?
Like, what did you notice that made you be like, I'm going to drink again? Because, well, I know myself what it was. I was like freeing. It was totally freeing. I was getting cunts abuse. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just being a dick, really. But it was like almost, it just freed me up to just, and I was just like, I want to do that again. That was what it was for me. That's what I noticed.
I think looking back through a lot of self-work, I think I realised it felt like a medicine. I was like crippled with anxiety and confidence problems. Couldn't talk to girls. Couldn't do anything really. Hated myself. And then as soon as I was drunk, I felt the tension leave my body. But that's a terrible cycle of self-harming. And then there's a lot of chemical reactions to your brain, because towards the end, anytime I drank or took drugs, it was 24 hours in my bed. I remember the last time I peed into an empty bottle of Lucozade. I couldn't leave my bed.
Right, like crippled with anxiety?
Yep.
Right. So
couldn't leave, couldn't speak, couldn't
that's
eat.
when like mental health meets a substance like that.
Yep.
I noticed that myself, mate.
Yep.
When I was in the pits of my depression and anxiety, for like days after drinking, I would have the most ultimate fear. And would think, that's a hangover. My hangovers are getting worse. Getting old. It's like you're 28. Like, mate, it's that your fucking problem is meeting your other fucking problem on these Sunday mornings when you wake up. Do you know what I mean? It's
like the young team that take gear. I think there's a high suicide rate with young men.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's with drugs, but when you take cocaine, right? See if you're 19 years old in Glasgow and you buy a gram of coke off someday. See if I'm a coke dealer, I'm going to say, see that 19-year-old, I'm giving him the shite gram because he's a fucking dafty and he's not going to do anything. So see that gram, it's going to be full of paracetamol, teething powder, Eckies, maybe speed or whatever. It's mixed up into all this shite, and then you've got a wee guy at 19 to 25. I'm not being condescending when I say wee guy, sorry. And then you're snorting all this gear, you're taking all this booze, and you wake up the next day and you're like, what the fuck has happened to me? It's because your brain has went into shock. You're probably depressed anyway, maybe your anxiety anyway. It just times all that by a billion. And that's what I realised with me. But see, when you think back to your behaviour, remember Vine? Do you ever remember Vine?
Aye, of course, mate. I was limmy daft on Vine.
Right. So I done pretty well in Vine, right? And Vine was before Scott Squad.
Right.
So I did stand up all the time. I worked in Asda and I was a part-time comedian.
Simpler days, was it?
The glory days. So this is how I used to operate. See, the Box is a nightclub in Glasgow.
Yeah.
It's in Sauchiehall Street.
Aye, mate, loved it, I know.
Open 7 nights a week to 3 in the morning. So this was my technique to get to be a functioning alcoholic. I started to know the people in the Box because they were mad wrestling fans. I did some wrestling work and they just loved comedy, so I done gigs in there. So what I used to do is any night of the week, it didn't matter what it was, but it was mostly Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I used to walk into the Box and they'd say, all right, Dan, how you doing? What were you up to tonight? And then I would say, I was doing a gig. I'm buzzing at my nut. I'm just in for a pint to come down because I'm buzzing on adrenaline in a gig. And they'd be like, aye, no worries, on you go. You want a pint? Probably get a free pint, 2 free pints, cheap drink, and just stone at the bar and get mad with it. And then people would recognise me for Vine. Oh, you're that mad cunt for Vine. And I'd be like, aye. And they'd be like, why are you in here yourself? Oh, I was gigging at the stand. I'm just in for a couple of pints before I go up the road. Why don't you have a drink with us? You sure? That's it.
Nah, you're on a night out.
That was it.
Woo! Yes, here we go.
That was my technique.
Right.
Every single time. Sometimes I even pulled birds and all that. It's fucking mental, but I'm in there myself.
Mate, some of these people that you meet, like, no offence to people, but you end up going in these mental nights out sometimes and you're just like on like these weird self-destructive fucking trips with cunts that you've just met in a fucking pub, and they become your best pal, and you wake up the next day and you realise that you probably wouldn't fucking give them the time of day if you walk by them in the fucking street, mate.
Exactly.
Mate, that type of stuff, like, I hear Kieran talk about that a lot, and I'm like, gonna stop doing that.
Like going random nights out?
Just going out himself and picking up fucking stragglers and going for a fucking mental, depressive, back to a gaff with cunts that you don't know. It's like, you don't know who these people are, man.
Aye. And there was another way that I did it. There's a pub in Bishop Briggs called the Crow Tavern.
Right.
And everybody knows everybody in Springburn and Bishop Briggs, right? So you could go into the Crow, the Briggs Bar, the Quins, and you'll know somebody. There's always somebody in there that you'll know. So what I did with the Crow Tavern was I used to walk inside it, right? And I knew 15 people there. I never knew that they were going to be in that night. But I'd go in, how fucking pathetic is this, right? And I used to like look about and do that. And then say I clocked my mate's stepdad. I won't name him, right? But he was standing there. I'd be like, all right, mate, how you doing? And he's like, are you who you in for? And I'd be like, I'd be in for, and name his son. I'm like, we're going to get a quick pint, but where is he? And he's like, he's not here. I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, man, I thought we were getting a pint. Oh, why don't you just grab a pint and wait for him to come in? Oh, all right then. And then that was it.
Just try to make an excuse to get a drink, man.
Then I'd be there with my mate's stepdad getting mad weight on a Wednesday night. And I'm all shitey pub.
Getting prosies and fucking getting clout on your mate's stepdad.
But
I'm kidding on, mate. I'm kidding on. But you're right, mate. You're just looking for that excuse. Like, alcoholics love Christmas because every cunt's getting on it. So see, that's why people like end up in these mad, weird, toxic relationships. Like alcoholics find other alcoholics. It's like a match made in heaven for them because then they've not got that partner being like, maybe you shouldn't drink tonight. Maybe you should take it easy. They almost egg each other on.
Yeah.
And when you go into a pub and by yourself, what are you doing in? You're like, I'm supposed to be, won't sit down with me. You're just sitting with somebody that's like, well, we'll get drunk. I don't know you. You don't know me. You get, mate, I would love the types of circumstances as well because I could spout piss to people. Just talk one load of shit. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. No, you're no. You're in a pub at fucking 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon having a fucking drink, man. Like, calm the fuck down. But, mate, it's mental, some of the lengths that people will go to when they're in that. Like you're saying, try and sort of act normal. Come in, I'm meeting my pal, don't know where he is, and next minute you're fucking best pals for life, steaming drunk. Like
the best actor in the world, isn't it? It's like it's crazy.
Good training for you. But what did your recovery look like then?
When
you started to recover, like what did you do? Why did you do it? Was there an episode or like an event you're like, mate, I need to fucking give this a wrap?
So I would say there was a few major things that happened that led to me getting sober. One was
try to suck your own dick, Stephen.
Excuse me. What, hangover?
Getting stuck.
I'm kind of getting mixed up with my time frame. What? Right. So basically, it started with my mate was getting married, and we were going to a stag do in Berlin. So we were leaving on the Monday, and I was doing some work with ICW for Scott Squad. So they were doing their wrestling show at the SEC.
Right.
I think it was like 7,000 people. And my part was I had this running beef with a wrestler called Lionheart, who's sadly passed away now.
Aye, man, Adrian. Such a sad story, mate.
A great guy.
Aye, mate. By all accounts, a lovely guy.
Yeah. And he trained me at the asylum, and it never quite worked out, but we remained friendly. I'm not saying, you know how sometimes when somebody passes away, they try to latch on and say, oh, he's my best mate. Aye. I'm not saying he was my best mate, but certainly if I bumped into him, we would be nice to each other.
Right, yep.
And there was this running joke that obviously wrestling scripted, so the thing was he was slagging me for being a failed trainee at the asylum. Right. I was slagging him for being a terrible coach. He broke his neck as well. And it all led up to this event at the SEC of me being in the crowd dressed up as Bobby, him pulling me over the railings,
right,
and just beating me up.
Who was their guest?
What do you mean?
Now, like when they do ICW do these big events at the SEC Hydro, they usually hire like a big name.
Rhino was there.
Right, okay.
But there was somebody else bigger there. But this is the point I'm saying. I can't even remember because I was that fucked.
Right, okay.
So I turn up, right, and we don't get paid because there's so many people there getting paid. So we're not getting paid, but there's a free bar. And Mark Dallas says, look, go in there and help yourself to the free bar. We're obviously 2 hours late. We turn round, we walk round, right? There's nothing there. No juice, no cups. There's just one big fucking gallon bottle of whiskey, right?
Right.
And I think it's for, Costco for like 60 quid. And
Right.
everybody was like, fuck drinking that, man, we'll be at our box. And I'm like, no, I'm drinking that. Like, there's no drink there. I'm not getting paid. I'm getting fucking some drink.
Taking that gallon bottle of bells.
So
Fuck's sake.
I don't know how much I drank, but I certainly drank enough, probably a litre, right?
Right, okay.
And
Fucking
I
hell.
remember being in the audience and I was blackout drunk and, you know, still functioning, but like I've done my whole life.
You were standing.
Aye,
Right,
basically.
aye.
That was another moment as well. Somebody asked me, how many gigs have you done? And I think round about that time I said 1,000. And he says, how many gigs have you done sober? And I thought, fuck. My first gig, maybe. And like 10 gigs or something.
Right.
Anyway, back to the ICW story. I'm standing there. Adrian is giving me some chat and he goes to pull me over the railings and I am dead weight, right? I'm about 20 stone, dead weight, out my fucking nut. And he drags me out the railings and I fall flat on my back. But there is what's it called? See the thing that's holding up the railings? It's like a steel bar.
Aye, right. I know what you're talking about.
Like, it's just holding it up so the railing doesn't fall. I fall on top of that, right?
Oof.
Don't feel a thing. Get up. We done our bit. It was very good. Went to the back. I'm buzzing out my nut. And I was like, fuck, man, I think I've got a stress nut. Because I'm so, like, tense. And there was a BBC press person there. And I was like, can you feel my back? And she done that with her thumb. She was like, fucking hell, man, that is a stress nut. She's like, that's really, really bad, man. You should get a massage. Never thought about it again. Woke up the next day, right? Went to go in for a shower, took my t-shirt off and see my entire right side. It was jet black.
Right, did you break it up?
Broke a rib.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Broke 2 ribs.
And right, so have you broke a rib sober?
No,
Right, I have.
I don't think so.
I get kicked in the ribs and basically, did your rib pop out? Did you have to go back? Did you have to
That's
go in
why
and get
she
it
was
reset?
like,
Aye, that's the knot.
stress knot.
It's not, it's a fucking bone. Mate, that is, and I have broke legs, broke noses, broke my jaw, get punched into my fucking molars, flew, broke my elbow, like
fucking hell.
fell out a tree and my elbow hit a brick, and getting kicked in the ribs and my rib popping out is the worst pain I have ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
You can't breathe. Like, you try and lie down, you're like, holy shit, you can't get comfortable. So me thinking about that pain and how drunk you would have had to have been for you to get up and do wrestling with 2 broken ribs is incredible, mate. I mean, even a bruised rib is like, you can't move.
Mental, isn't it? So,
aye, no wonder you get fucking sober.
aye.
Right.
So, but I was paranoid because I was going to my mates. This is not the end of the story.
Right,
It
okay,
gets
right, the
fucking,
stag do.
it
Right,
gets
fuck,
mental.
I forgot about the stag do.
Right, so I go to Stockpole and I say, I'm an actor, I'm in Scott Squad, I was in a wrestling show. This is while I'm still at my nut. I was at a wrestling show at the SCC last night and I was drunk and it was dead weight and I get pulled over. And the nurse is looking at me like, who are you, you fucking rocket? So he's like, look, you've got a broken rib, we can't really do anything about it apart from give you these really strong painkillers. So I'm getting my shit ready for my mate's stag do, out my tits on painkillers, run back to my house, grab my suitcase, don't even look at the suitcase, stick in hundreds of shit and go to Glasgow Airport. Little did I know that 2 years before then, I went to Bulgaria with my best mate, right? Just a lad's holiday, just the 2 years. And for 14 days, I was blackout drunk, right? When I was in Bulgaria, I don't know if a lot of people know this, Scott Squad is about 95% improv. A lot of the sketches we come up with ourselves, with writers as well. And we were walking through this strip in Bulgaria, and I went to this stall. They were selling gas masks, samurai swords, and knuckle dusters, right?
Right.
And I seen this knuckle duster, and it was like something out of the baddie Shredder out of the Turtles.
Aye, mate.
It was like his horn.
Aye, aye.
And see, to me, it was so comical and so stupid looking.
Right.
I just couldn't. I was like, I can't believe that that's a weapon. So in my head, while I was drunk, I said, I'm going to buy that and I'm going to use it for Scot Squad. And the sketch will be Bobby buys a ring for his granda, but
He buys knuckle dusters.
they don't know. He doesn't know it's a knuckle duster.
Right.
So it's a black knuckle duster. Put it into my black suitcase, and this is how much of a fucking idiot I was. Stuck the suitcase in my room and it's no moved for 2 years.
Right.
So see, when I get back for the hospital and I pack my case for Berlin, there's still Bulgaria stickers on the suitcase. So I'm running to Glasgow airport. Now, there was a chain of events that just fucked me for the get-go. It was, you weren't allowed a full suitcase in. It was only handheld luggage or a really small suitcase.
Right,
But
carry on.
Carry on, that's it. But I had a suitcase the size of this fucking table.
Aye.
So straight away it flagged me up. And I remember standing in the queue, all my pals there. I'm drinking alcohol in the airport for a curer. I'm at my tits on these painkillers that I don't even know what are.
Fuck's sake.
And they stop at, the bags get stopped at customs. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what the fuck is taking them so long to process this bag? And I remember the guy looking at me like I was a psychopath, and I was saying, is it my shampoo, mate?
Oh no, man, you've got some sort of mad sex toy in your fucking...
Aye. So little did I know, I did know, he pulled out the fucking knuckle duster, right? And see the feeling of, such a weird feeling of, I completely forgot that it was there to begin with.
Aye, so you're like confused.
Aye.
Right. And embarrassed.
The shame. And it was just like, all my mates were like, no fucking way he's got a knuckle duster, because none of them knew either. I'm standing there.
You must have been like, what the fuck is that, man?
I know, and it's the fact that I was going into Glasgow airport. It wasn't the fact that I was leaving.
Did you sober up quickly? Was it one of the things where you're like, oh no, the adrenaline pure goes now?
It was weird because the police came, right, and the guy police was like, he never said you're fucked, but he done that, you're in trouble. He's like, you're fucked.
Right.
And I was like, before we even go into the room for questioning, I said, mate, you're not going to listen to what I've got to say first. And he's like, I don't know, like, how are you going to get past this? And I explained.
Told him the story.
Honestly, I told him honestly the story.
I'm Bobby on Scot's Squad. Did you lead with that?
And I said, I just told him what I told you. And he said, look, you've not got a criminal record. You've never been in trouble. It's pretty obvious that you're not a dafty. That type of dafty. You're a different type of dafty. So you can still go to Berlin and...
They let you go?
They let me go.
Right.
But he's like, you'll probably get a letter through regarding this. So they let me go. I was able to go to Berlin. But see that euphoric high of being let to go, that weekend just turned into a fucking mental binge. People gave me shots.
So you hit the fuck it button because you were nearly in jail, nearly no gone, and you get away with it. You're like, yes, man, so fucking geese it.
Then I came back, and then I started. What happened? I came back and I realised I had a drink problem, right? And I never had a drink for 7 months. And I stayed sober for 7 months.
Right.
With no help from anyone. Never went to the doctors about depression. And this is what I'm saying. If you're struggling and you need help, you need to take every set of tool. You need to get in touch with somebody like Paul and ask for help, while using many other different things to get you through this. And I never done that. So see, for that 7 months, if somebody says, how long you have to drink now? I'd be like, 46 days. And see, that is no healthy. That's another sign of an alcoholic. Because see, when you stop drinking, you want to be away for the shackles of addiction. I only drank for 14 years. Say I started when I was 14 and I stopped when I was 28. See, when I'm out in the tune when I'm 47, I don't want to recoil in disgust at somebody drinking a pint. I want to be able to sit in your company and for you to have a beer and for me to no give a fuck. Or... because you need to live your life, because booze and drugs and all that are never going to go away. So anyway, 7 months sober, and it was the worst fucking time of my life. I wanted to kill myself. I felt suicidal. And then my pal's wedding happened, the boy that had his stag do in Berlin.
Went to stag do 7 months before his wedding? Fuck's sake, man.
Yes.
Whatever happened to the night before, man?
I know. So it's mental, isn't it?
Aye, mate.
And he's...
Shiting himself in case he does something stupid.
Aye. And his wedding happened, and I remember my mate was there, and he was going it, fuck's sake, man, are you off a bevy?
Oh, no, man.
You're always one of these mad cunts that are doing diets, you're always doing this, you're always doing that.
Shaming
How come you can't have a drink? And I was like, genuinely said to his face, sadly, we're no friends now, which is another thing you need to do. If there's nobody there supporting you, get them to fuck. See these negative people that hold you back with your depression and alcoholism, get them to fuck. So I went to the toilet, came back from the toilet, and there was a pint on the table for me, and he said, just have a pint. And I thought, you're an arsehole. And I was defenceless to the first drink because I never had a support network there to help me. So as soon I locked myself away for 7 months, cut myself off for the world. First day out, I buckled.
You buckled, mate.
And
Wow.
I had a beer, right? And then I went into the bus, and there was a boy sitting there drinking whiskey for a flask. Whiskey again. And he was like, this tastes like shite, man. Do you want that? And I was like, fuck it. Had half a flask of whiskey, and I was out my tits. Now, see, at the time after the wedding, everybody was like, darn, you were mad with it. There was a video getting filmed when we were getting interviews at the end, like, why are you happy with the couple getting married? So there was a bit that I done when I was talking shite, and it was really dark. But see, at the time when it happened, I was so devastated with shame and like being embarrassed. But I never... everybody's like, oh, you were out your nut. But I look back at that and think, I wasn't embarrassed about the wedding. I wasn't ashamed about that. I was just drunk. I wasn't any different from what everybody else was, because everybody was taking drugs, everybody was drunk. I was just so devastated because I was sober for 7 months and then I drank. Because I went back and I've looked at the video of me talking shite, and when it happened, everybody was like, mate, you're out of order. And I thought, I looked at it and I said, that's me just doing a bit. Like, I'm clearly in... like I'm doing a character, like I'm talking shite, because the cameraman that was a wedding video guy, he was filming it, he recognised me for Scott Squad. I'm out my tits, started to show off. I'm sitting there with a bird, I've got my arm around her, she walks away and my arm's still like that, so it's obvious that I'm doing a fucking bit.
Was that planned that she walked away?
No, she just walked away because I was gibbering shite, saying we're going to get married and all that, just talking shite. But at the time I was so like gutted, but thankfully my pals have came back and said, look, you were just mad with it, you weren't any different from anybody else. So that was the 10th of December 7 years ago, and a lot of people got sober that night, right? But see, because
was that wedding a catalyst for
a
sobriety?
lot of cunts get sober, right? But
that's a sign of a good night, mate. See if you and all your mates are like pure, we're off it for a year.
There's like 3 people that have not had a drink since that wedding, right?
Fuck's sake, man.
So,
what a night that must have been.
That was the 10th of December. And I was still, my head was absolutely fried, right? I'm not an alcoholic. I'm only 28. I can't be an alcoholic. So, the next day, I woke up and I was in my bed for 24 hours, pissing into bottles, couldn't move, depressed, suicidal, and I took a week off work. And then 7 days later, a comedian said, I want to work with you in some videos, let's meet for a drink. And I said to him, I'll meet you, but I think I might be an alcoholic. That was the first time I ever said that, and I meant it. And he said, well, why don't you just drink what I'm drinking? Instead of drinking what you normally drink, just copy me and we'll see how that goes. And I went out that night and I was mentally, physically and spiritually broken, like crushed. And then I didn't even want a drink. I remember having a white wine, never drank it before in my life.
Disgusting shit, man.
Disgusting. I think I had a gin.
Ugh, more disgusting shit.
Couple of beers, a red wine, and we were standing at the bar, And I think it was like rum. It was some type of cocktail, rum or something. And I remember when I was drinking it, something honestly in my head just done that. Enough. Like it was like an inner voice. I don't know if they say it's a higher power or whatever, because I've said a million times that I'm not going to drink anymore. That's me off it. I need help. But that moment in time, I was like, I'm done. And 17th of December was my last drink. And I knew it was going to be hard. I knew that, you know, you're removing that self-medicating. What am I going to replace it with?
Mm-hmm.
I've replaced it with a lot of things. Food, to this day, is still a struggle. You know, I can be skinny, I can be fat. But, you know, it's weird because fucking 6 years, man. It is weird. And it doesn't get easy. You think, oh, I'm going to get dead skinny, become a millionaire and be a mad shagger, get a big house up in the West End. None of that happens. Like,
well, this is what. Well, mate, I've never really thought about that. Like, in that sense of, like, people talk about all these pure amazing things that happen when they get sober and blah blah blah, and it's like, maybe that doesn't happen for everybody. Like, sometimes sobriety is disappointing for people. That's why they relapse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you ever relapsed?
I've never relapsed, which to this day I still find strange, because I don't think I'm that strong a person. See, when I want something, see when I get a hunger for food or doing something bad, I just do it. Like, there's no self-control with me. But it's weird with sobriety.
I think you've got a self-defeating belief there, mate, because if you have managed to stay off alcohol and drugs for 6 years, something that you've struggled with before that, then you've got plenty of self-control.
Yeah.
So I think you've got a bit of a sort of self-defeating thing there where you're like, I don't have any self-control, I can't trust myself, but you definitely do. You just need to apply the same principles that you've applied to that, to other things. But I think you said something really, you've replaced your addiction with food, so that's why you're struggling with that, you know? I always think, well, addiction's always a symptom of something else, something deeper there, and if you can deal with that, you can deal with the addiction probably quite easily. Like, if, you know, it's going to be hard, like, if after the physical withdrawals go, as long as you know why you're doing it, and I think you must know why you're off the alcohol, and it must be really strong, then it'll make it a lot easier for you, you know.
Well, they say, you know, you're either born feeling that you're the black sheep of a family, or you've got a hole in your soul and you try to fill it with things. And that's what's made me realise that there's a problem, because I've always felt odd or different from my pals or from my family. And I've always had this feeling of having a hole in my soul before I even found that out. And I love the term, like, Jekyll and Hyde, because I can be the nicest person in the world, but as soon as I put alcohol into my body, I want to commit suicide. So how can you go for this quiet wee guy that loves his ma, that then, fucking hell, man.
Choking up, mate.
I'm choking up here, man. Wow.
Well, I'll let it out, mate, for fuck's sake.
This is a Christmas special.
Episode 10, mate.
Suck my knob next.
Definitely not choking that.
Oh.
Sorry, mate.
No, that's all right. No, but that, how can you do that and then go for completely just fucked? Like, I lost my place there. It's the fact that you're staring at me, I know, with your big sexy
Sorry,
fucking
mate.
beard.
Sorry. Sitting pure stroking at them.
Merry Christmas.
Into therapist mode, mate. I think you, mate, if you know, I think that, like, I don't even know how to unpack a bit of that on a fucking microphone, like, just to get the microphone for. But, like, if that is who you are, like a sensitive person, and then when you take drugs or alcohol, you change. Don't take the drugs and alcohol, it changes you as a person. And if that is because you're like, I've got a black hole, like, that's where I would say to people, fill that hole with something. Fill that black hole. Fill that black hole with something that's more productive.
Yeah.
You know, like, whatever it is, your comedy, your career, fill it with something do something with it. Like,
Yeah.
put that energy into something that isn't fucking yourself up and hurting yourself, mate, you know?
And I think that's why you need to be kind to yourself during these times, because the last 2 years we've been living through a pandemic. So if you do feel a wee bit stressed, or maybe you lose your gratitude towards sobriety, which I've probably done and other people have done, but they've remained sober, you just need to look at the fucking bigger picture. We're living in a sci-fi movie. If you're stressed, if you've put a wee bit of weight on, if you've lost weight as well, because that can be a problem to people, and people get judged on that, man.
For sure, mate.
I know a couple of my mates that it really hurts their feelings when people talk about
How skinny they are.
Aye. So that can work both ways, and that can be stress or undereating or whatever it is. I think you just need to be kind to yourself, because
For sure, mate. Self-improvement without self-acceptance and self-compassion's absolutely fucking futile.
Yeah.
Because you're not improving anything. Well, the reality is you are improving things, like, but within your perspective, if you can't accept who you are for who you are, and you can't be compassionate towards yourself through recovery, it probably won't be what you want it to be.
Yeah.
And aye, mate, that's a principle that I just live my life by. Just accept who you are.
Yeah.
Like you're saying there, how do I go for being this wee? Just accept the wee guy.
Yeah.
Accept the wee guy that loves his mom. Just accept the guy that has a bevy and starts to be a bit of a prick, or starts to act out. Just accept it, that's who you are. And even that you can't drink, just accept that. Like, just accept. Don't fight it. Don't make it a battle. Just turn it into, this is unfortunate. Like, do you think that somebody who has anaphylactic shock because they eat peanuts is sitting greeting about the fact that they can't? No, they're afraid of peanuts. So, like, keep them the fuck away from me.
Exactly.
And I think that is the type of mindset that you can be, you know, like, are you going to go mental at somebody eating a packet of peanuts in front? No. If you're on a plane, or, you know, if it's going to put you in that danger, like your mate, here's a pint. Fuck you. Do you know what? Like, you need a fucking therapist. Fuck me, man. And that's disgusting, mate. I can't believe that.
Yeah, it really hurt me, and it's made me, it's never made the friendship the same. But recently I found that he was a year sober.
Well, good for him then. Good for him.
All the best to him. I know a lot of people project that their own troubles and problems, but it's still disgusting, because even see if I was sitting at a party with you back in the day, right, and I had a gram of coke on us, and I said, Paul, do you want a line? See if I would like you to take that line, because the two of yous could have a laugh together and talk shite. But see if you never took that line of coke, in my fucking head I'd say, yes, more coke for me.
Aye, but what about if I was like, no, I'm totally against that? You would be like, I think it's no that maybe somebody's like, oh, I've never tried it, or whatever. I think it's like, if somebody was to say, if you were fucked up, right? If you're fucked up, this is only the way that this works. If you've got a problem with coke and then you sit with somebody that's like, I've kicked it, then you go into this sort of self-loathing, who do they think they are? Yeah. And then when you're close to that person, like a mate, then that's when you start to taunt them. And you start to be like, fucking, you know what I mean? Like
the vegan stuff.
Mate, exactly. I always remember I had a mate that gave up weed, and he wasn't even a weed smoker. He was a hash smoker back in the day. Big hash dealer, actually. And he used to sit at parties with a bottle of Buckfast and a fag, and me and my mate would spark a joint, and he'd be like, "You're fucking junkies, man, disgusting. Fucking drugs are for mugs." And you're like, what? What kind of self-loathing are you involved in, mate? Like, you've got a bottle of fucking high caffeine alcohol fucking fuck knows rocket fuel in your horn, and you're smoking 20 Club. And I'm a fucking junkie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, mate. No, thank you. Like, but that's it's all about self-loathing, mate. See, when people do that, bait people, taunt people, bully people.
Yeah.
It's their own self-loathing that causes them to do that. And see your mate. See if he's sober. Connect with him, man.
Yeah.
Say to him, like, see when you did that at that wedding, mate, that fucking broke my heart, by the way.
Yeah.
Bet you any money will be like, I'm so sorry, and you might even be able to get your fucking relationship back on track.
Back to normal. Yeah, I look back now and I think everything happens for a reason, and the 6 years has been eventful because I haven't been completely sober, I suppose, because I've went to Peru and I took ayahuasca. And I remember coming back from Peru and everybody was like, well, it's mind-altering drugs. And I thought, but there's nothing enjoyable about ayahuasca.
And it's a plant.
Uh-huh.
So would you, like, going and eating nettles shifts your consciousness in a slight way? Would that mean that you're no sober?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, mate. I mean, you smoke cigars, mate.
Yeah.
So does that mean that you're not? Because you don't have a problem with them. You don't have a ayahuasca problem. That's where I get, you know, and as a professional, that is bullshit. See if somebody's like, oh, you smoke cigars, that's breaking your sobriety. No, it's not. Because you had a problem with Eckies, Coke and alcohol and you're off that, so you're still sober. So I get that shit in the bin. Even if you were at a house party and took a couple of draws of a joint just to be like, I wonder what this is like now at this age, would that mean that your sobriety's out the window?
Yeah.
No, mate. No. Like, that is a ridiculous sentiment to me. Like, ayahuasca is a fucking life-saving, you know, substance that people take to recover from alcohol. This is the one where we're starting to get new studies and data where they're saying, like, actually, like, weed is amazing to get people off of heroin. Magic mushrooms is amazing to get people off of heroin. Like, ayahuasca is amazing for these hard drug addictions. These are softer drugs, you know, and I don't even think anything that grows in the ground could be fucking classified as a drug, you know.
I agree with that. And it's not like, see when you take Eckies, you think, right, this is going to last, say, 5 hours. You drink a pint, you're going to be drunk for 4 hours. Ayahuasca, in my personal opinion, is not a drug. It is probably the most terrifying thing I've ever took in my life. It wasn't enjoyable. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone that isn't serious about it. It's not a bucket list type of thing. When you take ayahuasca, your life will never be the same. On top of it being physically just breaks you, mentally breaks you, and it tastes like shit. So my pals that are sober, like, well, it was a mind-altering substance, you've escaped like reality. But I haven't really, because see, when I drink alcohol, even when you're fucked and depressed, you still enjoy it. Like, it still tastes good. You take a line of Coke and you feel, it might be a fake happiness, it might be a fake dopamine hit, but it's still there.
It's a high.
When you take ayahuasca, you are going into another fucking universe.
Mate, you fucking meet your reality, man. You're going further into your reality.
I was getting like visions for fucking God about my death, and then all of a sudden I'm back in Glasgow thinking I'm Bobby.
Some kids drinking a pint of Tennent's like, well, you're no sober now. You were in Peru drinking that ayahuasca, you're not sober. Here, have some fucking fuck off. But, mate, I've smoked plenty of DMT. I know exactly what you're talking about as far as the visions and stuff. It's not as intense as ayahuasca. It doesn't last as long, but I know what you're talking about. And if somebody was to say to me, like, DMT is a sobering experience. Like, you come out of that going, I know more about life, no waking up going, I want to fucking kill myself because I'm hungover. You know what I mean?
Well, I've took DMT. And I would say DMT is better than ayahuasca.
It's kind of like, ayahuasca is kind of like drinking, you know, a gallon of beer, and DMT is like necking a bottle of tequila. Straight into your fucking veins if you were to get like an alcohol sort of, you know, relevance. But mate, what else you got to say in your sobriety? Like,
so I think I've covered everything. You know, I don't mean to be self-indulgent there. That was me just sharing experiences of my first drink, my last drink, and everything in between. And if anybody's struggling, then say always what we've said since we've been doing this podcast. You know, I mean, this is what I did, right? I phoned the Samaritans because I was too self-conscious to
just go to the doctor or
whatever.
Or?
The very first time I ever went to an AA meeting is when I was 24 years old, after, I don't know if it was a suicide attempt. I still don't know to this day if it was a suicide attempt. But basically I went to the pub, my back was fucked for training, right? Absolutely fucked, like a trapped nerve. And I went to the pub, I get steaming, and I think I went home that night, and I took too many paracetamol because of my back. And I'm, I have had suicide attempts in my life, but that one, I genuinely, hand to my heart, don't think it was a suicide attempt.
Well, that's it, mate.
And
it wasn't.
Aye. And I think it was just a drunken mistake of having a fucked back.
And take too many painkillers.
I either took them and then I forgot that I took them and I took more. But I woke up the next day. I woke up the next day in my dad's house, right? And the kitchen was flooded. And I was lying under my bed, fucked. And my dad walked in and he's like, what's all these fucking empty packets of paracetamol and all that? And I was like, oh, it's my back. I'm going to the sauna in the steam room. I got up, went to go to the sauna in the steam room, and I collapsed on a pavement down the road. And I thought, fuck, I've gave myself a fright. Went up to Stockport, and I basically said, look, I think I've took too much paracetamol. Then it just descended into madness of them saying, we've got reason to believe that you maybe tried to take your life. And I was like, no, my back's fucked.
My back.
So I don't even know why I started telling that story, but everything, anyway, it wasn't a genuine suicide attempt, but this is...
I phoned the Samaritans.
I went to my first AA meeting when I was 24, and I remember walking in and everybody was there. Everybody that was there was about 90, and I thought, right, I'm not an okay because I'm about 50 years younger than every cunt in this room.
Right.
Couple of years on for there, I was too self-conscious. I phoned the Samaritans, and it was just something really beautiful about being able... They know what they're doing. They're absolute experts in what they're doing. It's like she answered the phone. First and foremost, I was ashamed because it was a woman. I don't know why. So that made me kind of quiet, and she just knew what to ask, when to ask it, and I ended up opening up to her, and to this day it was still one of the most powerful, beautiful conversations I've ever had with someone. It was really intense, crying down the phone and stuff, but it made me, it basically made me realise that I needed to ask for help. And I went down to my GP for the first time, and I remember going into my GP, sitting there, cradling myself, basically, couldn't make eye contact, and she knew the questions, what to ask again. And then that made me go, they sent me to therapy, an alcohol counsellor, and then, it steadied the boat. And it took
a lot of courage, mate, to do that.
It went there. A lot of people slag the NHS and stuff, but there's help there if you want it. And it's like I say, man, if there's tools there, especially free tools, I mean, the Samaritans are free.
Aye, it's a charity, mate. I would always echo that, mate. See if you'll know, phone the Samaritans, phone something, like, do something. Just don't do nothing. Like, just do something. Contact. There's so many like good charities out there, do you know what I mean? So many like good meetings and stuff that you can go and resources that you can lean on. But I think that the big barrier is getting over that shame that you spoke about. But if you do it, mate, it's just the benefits are unmeasurable, really.
Yeah.
If you can face that, maybe I'm an addict, can I get some treatment, you know?
What's the other option? Are you just going to fucking die and all your family and all your mates are going to miss you? Because there's no shame in saying that you're fucked. Everybody's fucked now and again. And
especially like right now, like you're saying, the world that we live in right now, we were talking earlier about reasonable, mentally well people that are starting to question their reality because of the world that we live in right now. So everybody is a wee bit fucked, mate.
Because you can still be sober and no go to AA. It's whatever works for you.
That's it, mate.
I went to AA. I remember you phone the AA helpline and they'll send somebody to pick you up at your house. Did you know that?
No, mate.
They'll drive to your... See, if you phone an AA helpline in Glasgow right now, someone would drive to your house tonight, pick you up and take you to a meeting. And see after that, see if it's for you, it'll change your fucking life.
Aye, mate.
You meet sober pals, you start to live sober, and it is what it is. I remember all my family are kind of struggling with booze, and I've got one uncle that's 30 years sober, and I always remember everybody saying, "What's wrong with that cunt? Something all right with him?"
Aye, doesn't like a drink. Can't
He's like
trust him.
a shining light in the
Aye,
family.
mate, fuck's sake.
So that's the Samaritans. You can get breathing space. What else have we got? Can you think any?
Fuck, mate, there's Brothers in Arms are a suicide prevention charity. They guys have got the Thrive app that you can get access to, and it's free of charge, and it's got professional, addiction stuff and that on there. They'll help. They're suicide prevention, but they'll help with any sort of struggles. Fuck, mate, there'll be, Gambling Anonymous, gambling charities. Just go and find it, mate.
Yep.
Google, see anybody that's like, I didn't know where to look. See, in this day and age, it's like, come on to fuck. Literally all of the information's at your fingertips, you know what I mean? And if you don't have, I don't know, man, if you can't afford Wi-Fi or anything like that, just get a mate. I think even just contacting a friend, telling them that you're feeling fucked up, tell them that you're not feeling great, that you need help. It'll be the best thing you've ever done for yourself, mate, you know what I mean?
Amazing, mate. I'm the fucking Grinch, the cunt that smashed up.
Did you see that? A woman paid 80 quid for somebody to come to her house dressed as the Grinch, and the guy in Wayne trashed the fucking house. You deserve it.
Aye.
See,
80 quid or no?
I know. Yeah, I'm going to dress up as a Grinch and jump about fucking punching for 80 quid. Will we wrap up?
You want to wrap up? Aye, that's an hour and a
fuck it.
half.
Aye, mate.
See, because this is the last podcast before we both take a holiday, I think we shouldn't do much editing with that. I think we should give the punters a treat and let them have an hour and a half. Unless there's something that we said in there that you were like, let's cut it out.
Mate, but I don't give a fuck.
Yes.
I'll put it out, mate. Let's go.
That's
Let's
my
do
baby.
It. Aye,
That's my baby boy.
Let's do it. Right.
Right. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for listening to the podcast. Unfortunately, the Avalon pub is shut down now, so we don't have a sponsor. If there's anybody out there that would like to sponsor us, then get in touch. And if you would like to support the podcast, you can buy a coffee, and everything goes towards the podcast. So I just want to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas. I also want to thank Paul for helping me. It's a nice new friendship that I have in my life, and I just hope yous are all well and safe, and we'll see you after the bells. And my name's Darren, and I'm grateful to be here and sober.